Hello. Okay, it is April 23rd, everybody. So, of course, we'll talk a little about Pope Francis and his death on Monday, 2 days ago now. Gosh, I woke up, I looked at my phone, and a friend had texted me, "Did you hear the news?" And I thought, oh boy. But my first thing I thought was, did the Pope die? And then sure enough, I went to a news website and there it was. So I liked him a lot. I'm sad. He was clearly getting pretty weak. I don't know if anybody saw his Easter blessing that he gave, but he really hardly could talk. Though I guess it wasn't as long as that took his life. He had a stroke and heart failure. But his Pope, Bishop Battersby said he died with his boots on. He was out there. I'm sure the doctor said, "Stay, rest." And he went out to the prison to talk to the women in prison on Holy Thursday. And he came out for Easter, rode around in his Pope mobile and offered a blessing to people. So I've been paying kind of attention to it, but not a lot. I haven't been glued to the news. Read some articles. We'll talk about that. Maybe a little while. I guess we're talking about it now. But I got this from some good friends in Menominee when I turned 50. See that? That's I was just looking at pictures I had of Pope Francis. I don't really have too many. I have several books with this picture on the cover, but this was pretty special. What does it say? His Holiness Pope Francis, as a pledge of divine favor, bestows the apostolic blessing upon Reverend Father Thomas Craig on the occasion of his 50th birthday, April 6, 2014. Oh, and then it's signed by, okay, interesting. It's signed by Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, who ended up being quite a controversial figure. And I guess you could say an enemy of the Pope's. So I didn't realize he had signed it. But anyway, that's interesting. But I know the lovely person that got that for me actually wrote a letter to the Pope. I think on the outside chance that the Pope would write me back and wish me a happy birthday. And that didn't happen. I guess what happened was it gets to the Vatican and then it says, oh, he's a priest in La Crosse Diocese. So then they send it to the bishop. Then Bishop Callahan actually arranged to have this certificate given to me. But anyway, that's a little story. So Pope Francis's funeral will be on Saturday, I believe 3 a.m. Central Daylight Savings Time. I think it starts at 10 a.m. in Vatican City. So I've heard that one of our great youth servers, Cash, is going to be up watching the whole thing at 3 a.m. So good for him. Enthusiasm, love for the Pope, love for the Church. I have that same love, but I also love my sleep on a Saturday morning so I can be ready for Mass. So I think I'll watch a tape delay. Oh man, we had a nice service on Monday night. So we heard the news Monday. I called Christine. I said, what do you think if we had a service tonight? And so we got emails out to everybody. I put it on Facebook. We had about 35 people come. I guess I wrote about all this in the bulletin, but it was really nice. It was. I did some readings from his writings. I didn't have a lot of time to prepare, so really anything he said was always kind of spot on. And then I passed the mic around, and people talked a lot about how he was so compassionate and merciful, accepted everybody. That they're really hoping I have another very compassionate pastoral, the next Pope. And some people said, I don't know that I'd still be in the Church except for Pope Francis. He made a lot of people feel better about being Catholic, I think. Everybody wasn't his fan, but I think that what I just said is true. I think I wrote in the bulletin, I think maybe, and there needs to be moral clarity in things, but I think people kind of knew what the Church was against. We're pretty good at saying what we're against. And I think Pope Francis comes along And it became a little more clear, not just what we're against, which are good things to be against, but things that we're for. You know, we're for mercy, we're for compassion, we're for peace, we're for taking care of this earth, our environment. He was just insistent that, was it in Spain? He had a World Youth Day. He kept saying, todos, todos, todos. All people are welcome. We need to be welcoming to all people. When we meet people, let's encounter each other as human beings before we categorize people and judge them. Or let's not do that at all, maybe, you know. So anyway, a lot of people caught that. Then we have a lovely parishioner too who said, he got the mic and he said, I appreciated his humility a lot, but you know, there's a lot of things he said I didn't agree with, you know. And I thought, well, he didn't really elaborate too much, but I thought, well, you know, Pope Francis would be proud of him for saying that, I think, because one of the big things in his later years was this synodality, that we should be able to gather and express our opinions and our faith with one another, not fear that we'll be punished for it or judged, you know. So I thought it was very appropriate that someone who wasn't necessarily a fan of Pope Francis was there to pray and remember. But so we'll have a mass. We decided today, a week from today, at 7 p.m. There's going to be a First Communion practice at 6, and they'll be done well before 7. So it just suggested that parishes have a mass or some remembrance. We did a little of that Monday, but now we get a little greater word out if people want to come. And we'll probably do the Good Samaritan for the gospel reading, and maybe we'll have a little time to pass the mic around again as well. I thought that was really nice. Did they bring any other show and tell? I guess not. What else was I going to say about the Pope? I mean, it's just, he's what choked me up. Not sad. I don't know. He touched a lot of hearts. Did you ever see that video? If you never did, go to YouTube, or you're at YouTube. So search for Pope Francis, boy, Father, heaven, something like that. There was a little boy that came up to him, wanted to ask him a question, and he invited the boy forward, but the boy was crying. He didn't know what to say, and so, you can whisper it into my ear. And he just held him in his arms, and the boy whispered in his ear, and they just talked for about a minute, just between themselves. And then I think he asked the boy, "Can I say what you told me?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, his dad has died, and his dad was an atheist, and he's afraid that his dad won't go to heaven. But he said that his dad made sure that all of his children were baptized, including this boy. And then so the Pope says, you know, God loves us like a father loves his children, and your dad had that love to make sure you were baptized. And he kind of turned to the people and said, "So what do you think? You know, you think maybe God will receive his dad into heaven, you know?" And everyone cheered, you know, and he goes, "Yeah." He even takes more love. He said it takes more love for someone that doesn't believe in God to have his children baptized than to someone who does. It's maybe harder, but he made that sacrifice. And so it reminded me of that gospel story. If you earthly parents know how to love your children, how much more will your God in heaven? So anyway, I saw that video on Monday afternoon, and just because the boy is crying, it's a real tearjerker. And so I did a little bodily grieving with some tears on Monday afternoon. So what's happening? What else was I going to say about? Oh, this Friday though, the deanery. So at St. Olaf's, it'd be a nice thing. He said he was thinking 7 o'clock, so I don't know for sure, but it sounds like 95% sure at St. Olaf's at 7 o'clock in the evening. He said there'll be an office for the dead, which is prayers and psalms. And he said there'd be adoration of the Blessed Sacrament, So probably there'll be the exposition of Blessed Sacrament, some prayers, and then they'll do these prayers for Pope Francis. I don't know that there'll be any talking or preaching, I don't know, but it'll be an opportunity for the whole, Father James said, should we just do this at St. Olaf's? You want to make it a deanery thing? And all the pastors that I saw responded, yeah, I think our people would like that. So this Friday, 7 o'clock at St. Olaf's, Office for the Dead with Eucharistic Adoration. And that'll be the evening. It's kind of like a vigil before the funeral, because the Pope's funeral is the next morning. So then we'll do our thing. Let's have another Mass Wednesday evening at 7, a week from tonight. Okay, Beth Fisher died this morning, so he's a parishioner of ours. Jerry, her husband, preceded her in death by a few years. A lot of you know Ann Carroll. That's her. Ann Carroll is Jerry Fisher's sister, and so Beth is Jerry Fisher's wife. So now they're together with God. That funeral will be, I can't remember now, but not this week yet. It'll be next week. So we'll get that information out at the masses this weekend. Yeah. You know where I am? I thought this was kind of neat. I was going to go somewhere else. I was going to go, is it Zelke or Zelly Park, near Elk Lake, or Elk Creek Lake, or what, I don't forget what they call that little lake, but on County Highway E. So you take this that way, a few miles, and then you end up right on West Cameron. It's County Highway E. First day out with my road bike. I've been tooling around with my other bike a little bit, but it didn't get my road bike, so I cleaned it off, got some of the gunk off the derailleurs, and oiled up the chain and pumped up the tires. And the first ride is always a little scary because you don't know how out of shape you're going to be. And I do a lot of stationary bike work, so it wasn't too bad. But I think what makes me more slow is weight. It'd be nice to lose some pounds. I could really whip down the highway better up those hills, you know. But so anyway, that's where I am. I thought this would be a good place because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, from riding by here during the summer, that this is where a lot of the food from our farmers market comes from. So God bless the farmers who supply us food at the farmers market, all that fresh produce. You can see some of the things coming up. My garlic is coming up, thanks to Mary Lee and Deb for giving me some garlic to plant. And then I'll plant the rest of the garden a little later, but it's good to see the little garlic coming up. Yeah, for sure. So anyway, thank God for the earth that can grow food and for the farmers who grow it for us. I do want to, so it's just some parish stuff, all right? So 21st of July, I'm looking for an overnight at St. John's Abbey again. They were able to reserve some space for us. I kind of doubt we'll be able to fill up all the space they reserved for us, but there are 6 single rooms, 3 double rooms, and 3 suites. And the guest master, Father Cyril, said suites are just maybe a little more comfortable, but probably unless you're a real close family or good buddies, probably it's still mostly for 2. But if you're like a family or good buddies, then it could be 3 or 4 in a suite. There's a cost. So the single rooms, they want $85, a double room $120 or $60 a piece, and the suites I think were $150 or something like that. So we'll carpool, we'll work our way over there. I got about 5 people committed to going. 6 plus 6. I guess there's room for like 18 or something. I don't see we'll probably get that. But if excluding the suites, if we filled up the other rooms, that would be 12. And I think we already have 5. So consider it overnight. We'll leave early Monday morning, not at the crack of dawn, but early enough so we can have midday prayer and lunch with the sisters formerly of St. Bede, who are still at St. Joseph Monastery, and which is just about 5 miles from St. John's. And then we'll go on to St. John's and check in and join the monks in their prayers. We'll join the women for their prayers too at noon, and then have lunch after. So July 21st, And if you really think you can go and could mark your calendar, let me know, because the sooner I know, then they don't have to hold rooms for us. I'd like to kind of zip it up as soon as I can. Okay. PCCW weekend, big weekend. So I think they'll gather together and pray together at one of our Sunday masses. They have the mass intention for the living members of the PCCW. There's a bake sale, so let's see if I have time to make a couple loaves of bread. And they'll do the DCCW. It's a Diocesan Council of Catholic Women, of which the Parish Council of Catholic Women is a part. They call it Low Sunday. They take a collection to support their good works. And I'm grateful. They're not gonna, I think they had mercy, and they know I'm not fond of second collections. So and yet the diocese wants us to take a collection, and they do good work. So it's one of those conundrums. But I'm grateful to them, because they said we won't do a second collection, but we'll have the baskets, and we'll be standing there with baskets. People can contribute, I don't know, before and after Mass or just after, I'm not sure, but I appreciate that kind of compromise there. It's generous, so I thank them for that. And we'll also have, do we have some baptisms? One baptism at the 10 o'clock Mass. Tisniks. No, and another one. Oh, it's a great one. I can't, one Saturday too. Is it Lynx? Yeah, Emily and Jake. They had another baby. It'd be awesome. They used to live in the neighborhood on Fountain Street. Then they moved toward, south of town, but that'll be exciting to have them back and have that, another sibling to join. Is it JJ and Aubrey? So that'll be the third child. So that's great. Let's see. And global outreach. That's our international students from Eastern Europe. They come over and they try to study at Regis High School, and they need host families. And so they'll kind of make a case for how much they appreciate being in the U.S. and it might pique the interest of some people that want to give it a shot and host an international student. Okay, so that's some parish stuff that's going on. More stuff. Anybody need a piano that's very serviceable? So we have a Yamaha acoustic piano, so not an electric keyboard, but an actual piano with, what do you call those, hammers that hit the strings. And it's free. Of course, you got to move it, and that costs some money, and you might want to tune it, and that costs some money. But the piano itself, we're not looking for any money. Right now, it's in the school music room downstairs, just off of Rourke Hall. So, free stuff. First Communion won't be this weekend, but it'll be the weekend after. We kind of spread out our First Communicants throughout all the parish masses, so we can all kind of be part of that. It's great. Thanks to Beth for all she does, organizing that. Stations of the Resurrection. If you're ever able to join us, I believe they're at 2:30 on Fridays, most of the Fridays of Easter season. This Friday for sure. And maybe you've noticed beneath the Stations of the Cross that have been in the church ever since the church was built. Was it just last year or 2 years ago? We put up Stations of the Resurrection, and we had a sort of laminated Stations of Resurrection, kind of better than nothing, but they were starting to curl and not look so good. And Audrey in the parish said, hey, I'll buy you some Stations of the Resurrection that are more permanent looking and more attractive. And so we did, and they were up before Easter season last year, just barely. And they're the kind of white, and they're under the Station of the Cross. Take a peek, take a gander. You might want to take a Bible with you, because there's the Bible citation. It's all, it's like today's gospel reading was the road to Emmaus, and Jesus was known in the breaking the bread. That's one of the stations. The women go and the tomb is empty. That's one of the stations. Thomas, the gospel we're going to hear this Sunday, touches the wounds of Christ and believes. It goes all the way through, I believe Pentecost is called a Station of the Resurrection too. But there's 14, just like there's 14 Stations of the Cross. And it's a beautiful thing. It's not just a St. James thing or something I thought up. It started, I believe, in the 1970s as a tradition, as a practice, and I wouldn't say it's spreading like wildfire, but the Stations of the Resurrection are up near our sister parish, San Jose and Luquillo, we went to the San Juan Cathedral, San Juan Baptiste Cathedral in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And they have on the outside of walls, they have a Station of the Cross. And on the inside pillars, they have the 14 Stations of the Resurrection. I'm like, yeah. And then when I went to Rome before my Holy Land 3-month sabbatical 5 years ago, sure enough, I saw there were these catacombs underneath burial grounds, and two were within walking distance, but you go up and then you go over, then you go back down. And that path between the two above ground, there were these posts with signs, and I thought, oh, it's the Stations of the Cross, how nice. But it was the Stations of the Resurrection, also known as the Way of Light, the Via Lucis versus the Via Dolorosa, the Way of Sadness, the cross. So we'll actually pray those with the school children at 2:30, but you're always welcome just to check it out. Maybe come early to Mass sometime during the Easter season and walk the Stations of the Resurrection. So we have major's right. We're a pretty big renovation. I might just kind of catch us by surprise, but so we're removing 7 pews, from the church. And the tabernacle, little short section of the tabernacle, there'll be we're reserving place right in front of the tabernacle that'll be separated for prayer, and then basically the music space will be there. It'll be more accessible. We have some older choir members that have trouble getting up and down, and some maybe that haven't been in our traditional choir because of that limitation, and so that'll be easier. That's one reason we're doing it. And also, they say choirs really aren't. I don't mind myself, honestly, but they say choirs aren't really supposed to be in the sanctuary. That's more for the altar and the altar servers, and it gets a little crowded up there. It got crowded like on Good Friday when we were doing our services. And so instead of the choirs that are up front, they'll have their own space over there. And so first phase will begin right after our confirmation weekend, which is like May 12th, and they'll. Technically, I think we're going to gain seats because we're going to add 2 pews to the very front of the other 2 pew columns, like right in front of the altar. So it'll actually be closer. We didn't get the altar closer, but we'll have a couple pews closer. And then the choir loft will be remodeled, so it's seating. The floors will be made uniformly flat. Some of those pews that we remove will go up there, and so we'll see. And you can hear really well up in that choir loft. So we'll see how it goes. It'll be a change, but that'll start in stages. So the first stage will be setting up the choir loft, and then they'll come and get the pews out, and then they'll refinish the floor. Like we refinish, they dug up all the old stained terrazzo and polish that up and fill in some holes and patch things. So it'll be a nice looking floor. That'll be like phase 2, and then pews replaced and the piano and the organ put in place. We're gonna have an organ, so seems like people are getting to know Nick. He's been our music director now for a year and a half. He's just really good, and we're so lucky to have his skill. And he knows people. He's part of the music community. So a lot of people commented, "Wow, how great it was to have a clarinet playing at Easter weekend." Well, that's Jordan. That's Nick's pal. It's from they're sort of, I don't know, call them supply musicians, it's true, but people know who plays what, and Nick's on that. He gets called to play piano a lot for different people. So, but he also can play the organ. He knows his way with an organ, so that's good. And Kathy Bai put a lot of love and care into regularly supporting this organ fund. And then Dick Piltz, before he died, wanted to fund what was short to pay for the rest of it. So I don't usually mention names, but it's a beautiful gesture on both of their parts. So we're grateful. So let's see. Got through a lot of this. But one of the problems will be if we have funerals during that time, and we probably will, it'll be really hard because there's like workers that come in to do that work, And so I guess the week of the 12th will be a really hard week if we wanted to have a funeral to make that work. Nick said the next week would be actually a pretty good week because it's more flexible. But then the last week in May would be a really hard week to have a funeral mass. So we'll see if and when that happens, and maybe we'd have to, depending on what the family wants. And then as soon as the church becomes usable, if it's on schedule, then I'm on pilgrimage to the Holy Land with 14 people. And so I won't be here for 2 weeks. If people wanted me to have the funeral, you could always have Father Karate or Father Schultz, ask them if they could do it. But it could be a little hairy in terms of having a space available for things like a funeral. So as I mentioned, the sun is coming out. See my shadows on my face? I'm here because the wind from the west is pretty. Behind me is a nice little grove of trees blocking the wind. God willing, I'm going to get the invoices, pay the invoices next week for the hotels and the land tour in the Holy Land. A lot of people have told me they watched the Hallow app last week, and they had a lot of scenes of Jesus in the Holy Land where I saw a little clip of one. I think it was a teaser more than an actual clip, but like a trailer with a chosen actor and a Bible scholar. So that's good. A lot of people are finding there's so many ways to enrich your spiritual life now. Hopefully you stay kind of rooted in the main things like the Mass, the Eucharist, and reading Scripture. But man, a lot of people have their favorite people to listen to online, a lot of different priests and commentators, and there's no shortage of resources for inspiration and learning, is there? So, okay, so, okay. I thought there was a nice moment I had this morning. I think I got everything I needed to say. I was going to say something about the Holy Land, maybe? Just that it'll be really good. But what I'm really sad about as far as our Holy Land trip, should have made it a week later. It was one day too early for one family who wanted to go. I thought I had timed it right, so it'd be after school, but then the flights changed and I had to go earlier. And then I'll miss Pentecost. It's the first time I've been a priest. I'll miss Pentecost with the parish I was at. So I guess I wasn't even thinking, because Pentecost is usually well into June, and this time it's usually in May. It's not in June at all, and this time it'll be like June 7th or something like that. So anyway, I'll be sorry to miss Pentecost, but we will have Father Parr, and he'll be very spirited and good. Okay, I'll just kind of close with a nice moment to at Mass today. So we had some good servers. I can't remember all their names. Oh gosh darn. So, but we had three of the school children serving Mass today, and then afterwards, I have this little drawer. I bought all this Halloween candy, and I had no trick-or-treaters this year. I had one. Thanks, Matthew, for coming. And so I had a lot of candy, and then other people give me candy. My mom has way too much candy in her room, so so I take some of that home sometimes. And so I go, you guys, don't forget, I have candy if you want to grab some candy on your way back to class. Thanks for serving. And so they, went over to the drawer, and this one young man was very excited, and he's like, oh, this is the best part, of serving Mass. Then he sort of caught himself. He goes, oh, it's not the best part, but it's the most fun. Which I thought was great. I didn't look at him askance or anything when he said it's the best part, but I know in his mind he thought, well, the best part of serving Mass is that we're close to Jesus, we're at the altar, it's serving that. It's not the best part, getting candy, but it's the most fun. So here's to having a little fun to your life. Lord knows this man was not opposed to joy. The first thing he wrote for all the world to read was the Gospel of Joy. And he said the Christian should be a person of joy. It doesn't mean he was indifferent to suffering. Lord knows he was not. He reached out to the hurting, especially those hurting most in the world. But he said, let's be a joyful people. Christ is risen. He sent the Holy Spirit to us. God bless Francis. God bless you. God bless us all.